When Forgiven joins the team, he's a really strong AD carry, but he also demands a lot of resources. So what you saw last split was that Diamond would spend a lot of time in top lane, which he now spends on the bottom side of the map, and that really hurts Cabochard's ability to carry games like he did last split.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's dive right into our next matchup. Of course, is going to be against the Copenhagen Wolves, or Copenhagen Wolves against Gambit Gaming. So let's get right into the lineup. A look at the Wolves, who haven't managed to pick up a win since week 1 of the summer split. They are, of course, Youngbuck up in the top, Airwax in the jungle, Soren in the mid, Freeze and Unlimited bringing in the bottom. They've definitely suffered a little bit. Those pick ban strategy, it seems like they're having troubles.
Yeah, definitely not the best drafting phase, and we have an example here of the Wolves, what they decided to do, and just have that lineup with Soren, passive mid laner here. They pick up the Evelyn too, I think, and then gave away the Gragas anyway, so it seems very weird why they did it, like how they end up getting into these bad situations, and Airworks just wasn't very good in this game. They tried out the Bard, but it just got shut down so hard, and they gave up Ryze, they gave up Gragas, they gave up Sivir and Morgana, you know, all top staple picks against the Unicorns here, and they're just not reading their opponents well. They're not getting too many meta picks themselves, they're giving away a lot of meta picks, and they're not countering them when necessary.
Yeah, they had some other troubles as well against some of the other teams. You know, picking Azir into Vlad versus Origin, that didn't work out well for them. It seems like they're just not really understanding the current meta quite the way they need to. In fact, all of their games, they've been very far down early on, with the exception of their lone win against SK Gaming.
Yeah, I believe they only had a 900 gold lead in their win against SK, but then their average gold down is 1.1k down, but that means they had one win where they're 900 gold up, so that means they were around like 1500 or 1800 gold down in their losses, you know, by 10 minutes. That's a lot of gold. You shouldn't be able to give up that many resources that early in the game. That means something is going fundamentally wrong every single game in a row, and they're looking to get off that path, because if they keep going like this, their schedule is pretty rough coming up.
Yeah, it is indeed. They'll need to get it into gear this week as they face Gambit and Elements, because H2K Fnatic up next, that is going to be a very rough ride. And,
so yeah, Gambit, Elements this week, winnable matches. You know, Gambit not been doing well, although they got their coach, and we'll get to that later. Elements, as you saw earlier, resilient but beatable. But next week, that's going to get rough if we saw how well H2K was playing and how well Fnatic just played. So the Wolves, they're definitely desperate for a win.
Yeah, and with that in mind, let's go ahead and check out their opponents. That is Gambit Gaming. So we'll take a look at their lineup. That's Cabochard in the top lane, Diamond Prox in the jungle, Betsy in the mid, Forgiven, the AD carry with Gosu Pepper down there, and of course their coach Sean's. However, the shining light for this team is they're starting to finally look like a team. Yeah,
that's something I really want to highlight, is that Gambit has been making these combos, right? They find Reckless right here last game, Flash Pulverize, and then Forgiven popping on the hunt, the team player that he is, but watch Eddie here as well, you know, Minion Taxi, Q Flash, Charm hits, so they have these multiple combos where they use members of their team to land Chain CC on priority targets, and that's definitely the mark of a team slowly improving and getting better, and they had issues before. If we go back to last split, they came into the split with infrastructure issues, not enough practice. They picked up a coach week 2. Sound familiar, Pyra?
Yeah, it's exactly the same situation they had in the last split. And look what happened then. They end up getting a massive win streak. We'll take a look at Sean's there, see what he can bring to the team, if he can do the same thing Leviathan had managed to do. But the real question is, when they do get on the board, is it going to be too late for this team?
I mean, we obviously never know. It worked for them last split. They tanked a bit towards the end, but then
Still
they had
made playoffs.
Famous streak from Gambit right there. And week 2, they picked up Sean's, just like they picked up Leviathan. They're getting more practice under their belt. They have Forgiven. They're adapting to his style. Could be working out, but they need to start winning games.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And I think just like the Wolves as well, they've had some troubles in pick and bans. You take a look at the fixation on Volibear for Diamond Prox. It hasn't really worked out that well for him.
Yeah,
and swapping Gragas up top.
Yeah, swapping that Gragas into the top lane, I still don't get it. But I've ranted enough about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Look to the future, not the past.
Let's go ahead. So, yeah, with that one out of the way, we're looking to start this game pretty quickly. But I want to go back to the Wolves for a minute, because they have really not been able to get the picks they want, not just in the... we talked about the pick and ban phase, but specifically that game against SK, the one they were able to win, it was off the back of Freeze getting Draven, doing massive work. But ever since then, just like last split, we're seeing the Cassiopeia banned out, we're seeing the Draven banned out. I feel like pocket pick reliance is something that's always been a problem for the Wolves, and what do you think they have to do to get out of that?
They just need every member on their team to step up and play, you know, to the average level of the LCS and try and just beat their opponents respectively. I think one of the matches we'll be looking at a lot this game is Freeze against Forgiven. Historically, Freeze was not afraid to lane 2v2 against Forgiven when Forgiven was in his prime at SK Gaming. So Freeze is definitely an aggressive laner. We've had other AD carries come out say, hey Freeze, this guy likes to go aggressive again and again and again in any situation. So let's see if when Champ Select hits, he's going to repeat that or switch it up, become unpredictable.
That might be what they need to do. Starting off this pick and ban phase, LeBlanc is taken away right away. Focusing on that mid lane with the first of it. Gambit Gaming on their side will ban the Maokai.
Yeah, Maokai away from Youngbuck. I think it's good. Try and put him on another champion, force him into a little bit of unfamiliarity. Just don't let him rely. I think a lot of players get away with a lot when they play Maokai. Even if they're behind, they can still fulfill their role. Youngbuck regarded as one of the weaker top laners in the LCS against Cabochard, one of the stronger ones last split. Not so much this split, but we saw the Cabochard Diamond synergy come out a lot, so that might be another approach they're taking. Rise is still open.
This is true.
Don't make the same mistake.
And of course, we still got an Echo up. We'll see if the Wolves decide to go for that one. With the Hecarim off the board, with the Morgana off the board as well. Trying to just get general power picks taken away. Fizz banned out now too. And that's, of course, we've been seeing in a couple of interesting locations. Let's see what Gambit take as their last ban, because they can't ban. There's a number of powerful picks still available on the board. Yeah,
it feels like Europe is finally catching up to the Cinderhulk Fizz hype that was over in China. People have been playing a lot of Fizz in the top lane, apparently in scrims, or so it seems, right? Because suddenly the resurgence of Fizz, suddenly people start banning it and respecting it, playing it around with mixed success. Going to the list, Rise finally gets banned, but as you said, Echo is up and Soren has been practicing his champion. Gambit, however, they were watching last game, so they at least have an idea of what the champion, or idea, rather, what the champion does.
So he must feel strongly about this, because not only did they first pick it, they first picked it when his signature Cassiopeia was open. Draven is still open. I'm curious if Gambit, I don't know if Forgiven would want to take the Draven away.
No.
But that means Freeze is going to get this.
Yeah, Forgiven doesn't care about Draven. He's not going to pick that champion. That's not Forgiven. Draven is one of those almost like one-trick ponies that you have to just master and you have to put in so much time to make it work. But let's stick to the draft here. Gambit pick up Azir and Rek'Sai. I like it. I think Rek'Sai has been more dominant than Gragas, even when both were up. Initially, we would say Gragas, stronger, but Rek'Sai seems to be working a lot for a lot of these teams. Immediate Azir pick up because we saw last week as well, Soren liked his Azir, obviously has the Echo locked in right now, so Gambit taking that pick, say, okay, we just answer with our mid lane, we're going to hide our picks following. Copenhagen Wolves, give us a little more information. What are you going to do? Are you going to go for that Draven? Are you going to go for something else? See if we can counter it. Obviously, flash knockup possible from Diamond Prox to stop that, but Alistar, kind of forgot about him.
Yeah, we always do seem to forget about the cow. And then teams that do tend to regret that. So Copenhagen Wolves, with a lot left to them here, some strange bans coming out, a few targeted ones, but just very strange across the board. It's left a lot of picks that aren't normally available to the Wolves. So now they also take a rumble in the last seconds of their turn, and that means...
It'll be interesting to see how well Youngbuck does on this rumble. It's a reverse order draft, almost it feels. Not hiding that mid lane pick to the last rotation to counter pick. Copenhagen Wolves open mid lane early, Gambit respond with their mid laner. Priority jungler gets taken away by Gambit, but Copenhagen Wolves don't want to fill in their jungler for some reason. They want to reveal more, so they feel they had to take the rumble there. They were afraid of potentially losing it. So a little bit upside down draft almost. So Copenhagen Wolves will have to answer in the next rotation with a jungler of their own, which is, let's be honest, very likely to be Gragas. So a lot of information for Gambit Gaming here. Don't do it!
They're just having a little bit of fun.
No!
What? Oh boy. Okay, so wait a minute. Now this means Airwax might go back to Evelyn.
Yeah, now he has... Okay, now I can see the Gragas a little bit the value in it because it removes both tier 1 junglers here. You have both Rek'Sai and Gragas. Hey, it could even be Gragas jungle and Rek'Sai top lane for all we know. Airwax back on his Evelyn, but I will hold my judgment. I have been proven wrong in the past, but yeah, I'm not convinced.
And by the way, so we with all the craziness, we didn't touch on Forgiven just yet. He picks up the Corki. That is his 5th AD carry in 5 games. He's clearly experimenting a bit.
That's the opposite from last split, where he went only Lucian Graves.
And now
they're both up right now.
Yeah, this is an interesting draft phase.
Yeah, Forgiven changing it up here with the Corki. A lot of magic damage poke right here. A couple of barrels, couple of Zir poke, rocket poke from Forgiven. So maybe Gambit going back to that siege style that they occasionally played in the spring split. I remember a game that we faced them in back in Elements. Completely got caught off guard by the amount of wave clear and poke they had. Ran around the map taking a lot of towers. And so far, only the Kog'Maw with some inclination of wave clear. Alright, let me figure this one out.
Wait a minute. We've got ourselves a puzzle here, Crepo.
Yeah, I think it must be Echo Jungle.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that really makes that much sense in this situation. We've got the Kog'Maw and the Lucian locked in. The Wolves are definitely trying something a little different this game.
So Airwak's not comfortable playing Evelyn again, to the point where he wants to get that Echo. He tells Soren, "Yup, it's mine now. You can play AP Kog'Maw in the mid lane. Lucian, Alistar bot lane." Very, very weird draft. I'm a little bit flabbergasted here.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one. I made all those predictions. I was so sure of myself, and then, no, you're wrong. Wolves completely pulling out some strange things as Gambit Gaming look to round out their composition. So looking for the support. The Nautilus is a very, very strong option, and they lock it in.
All right, all picks are on the board. Let's analyze these compositions. What do the Wolves want to do? So they have this tanky peel support in Alistar. Obviously, they're built around poke to an extent because they're running AP Kog'Maw mid. On the back of that poke, I guess they want to engage using the parallel conversion, using the Rumble ulti to close the gap on Gambit. If you look at Gambit's lineup, also have a lot of poke, have some hard targeted CC. I feel Gambit's comp makes a little more sense to me. A little easier to play. I think the Copenhagen Wolves are very low on disengage. The only one disengaging and tanking is Alistar, and we've seen it before. Alistar can't hold the front that easily because yes, he has Unbreakable Will, 2-pop in those fights, get almost unkillable, but against the poke composition, it doesn't really work that well. You need a tank to soak up the poke, and then you need to start a fight, and then you need to pop Unbreakable Will. So, yeah, very weird composition from the Wolves here. It feels like they got caught off guard by Gambit's weird draft.
Yeah, and well, it's not the first one we've seen today. Elements were not afraid to experiment, but neither are Copenhagen Wolves. We see another Echo now. This is going to be an interesting closing match, Crepo.
Yeah, we talked about picks and bans in the opening segment, said they were a little off for both teams in the past. I will hold my judgment. Gambit, you
can't call it just yet.
You have the right to prove me wrong here. I was not convinced by Gragas top lane in the past. I can see it working decently against the Rumble, but you need the gank pressure. So we'll need to see Diamond Puck show up in Cabashard's lane. It's definitely something I want to look out for.
I want to look out for it as well. And will we also be on the lookout for what you guys think at home? Let us know at LOL Esports. Will the Echo get a win today out of the jungle, or will Gambit's comp reign supreme? About to find out as we load up onto the Rift.
Now, many teams have barely played against Echo. Mostly when they face an Echo, it has been the mid lane Echo. So let's see how that jungle Echo ends up building. How his ganks work, because he has a lot of mobility. He has that parallel conversion that you don't see very often until it is too late. If he's hiding in a brush, he can throw it out behind the carry. Suddenly pops up, face dive, forward one step, auto attack, gap closer second step. Suddenly you stun that mid laner. You close the gap on, for example, that Azir. Betsy, he'll have to be careful.
Yeah, he's down.
I like it. Starting W
one
to get the shield for his cams. Also, very safe face check potential. We're seeing something new.
They're really, really deciding to try and get some early vision or try to grab someone out of this jungle, but Gambit have no interest in this. There are a lot of wards, a trail of them, in fact, as they place the scouting ward, but Gosu, Pepper, and Forgiven are already in the lane.
So it looks like the Wolves want a certain matchup to come out into play. I'm not familiar enough with the Gragas Rumble matchup to see how it goes. I think you can lane Corki Nautilus into Lucian Alistar. Almost feel like they'll get pushed in. Corki Nautilus will push in Lucian Alistar. They'll have to farm on the tower, sustain with the Alistar heal, but it'll be manageable. So I think in terms of bot lane, it doesn't really matter when they're doing it. But it looks like we're seeing a lane swap here from the Wolves. Gambit posturing aggressively. They know they lost control of their left side jungle. So they take what is theirs rightfully on the side of the Wolves.
Yes, indeed. Fairwax and Young Buck starting off on the blue. The lane swap completes for the Copenhagen Wolves. While Gambit take advantage of a little time with the Krug, so nothing is revealed to the Wolves just yet. However,
I have to critique Gambit already. They didn't do their Krugs right. With Nautilus E and Corki Phosphorus Bomb, you have 2 AoE spells, which means you should just focus the big golem, let the AoE kill the small one, get more creeps, and in result, They came close to losing an extra creep. Didn't really matter all too much in the end, but could have lost more there. And efficiency is key when it comes to these bot lane camps. Don't be fooled.
We'll see if it bites them in the behind as the game goes on. As GoSuPepper hangs out in this brush, Forgiven trying to zone away from the farm.
It won't do that really because the Wolves looks like they didn't really do a camp early, and the nature of the lane is that they can't push in that hard. So they started the freeze initially. Wasn't sure if the way up was gonna work. Gambit called their bluff. Now they have to lay back the tower. Gank on the bot lane though.
Yep, immediate flash from Youngbuck. He turns on the Flame Spitter and tries to roast Diamond Prox, but he won't return nearly enough damage. This Cabochard stays nice and healthy. In comes Airwax, throws down the Convergence and the Time Winder, but Betsy tries to get out of town. He's slowed up for a second by Airwax, and Soren burns his flash to stay alive. Has to walk back through the ooze to get back to lane.
I really like this start from Gambit though. They call the lane swap from the Copenhagen Wolves. They get the camp advantage. They know Copenhagen Wolves are likely to freeze the lane if the lane swap don't get a camp, so the camp advantage for the top lane. The early gank from the red side into bot, really efficient gank path, allows Diamond Prox to transition into the jungle a lot better without losing too much. Betsy has to play carefully. Yes, he had to burn his flash, but other than that, really good start from Gambit, and they proved to be a bit of the smarter team so far.
So taking stock of things too. They're definitely starting this game off well. Copenhagen Wolves, with a very, very interesting composition, have decided to try to push their edges a little bit where they can. You can see Airwax going deep in enemy territory to take away a red. He's immediately coming back to try and pick up Betsy. Parallel Convergence. Betsy's just out of range of it as Soren goes very far forward but eats a lot of poke from the Sand Soldiers. Diamond Prox is now here. Time Winder's out. It's not going to hit anybody as Airwax comes right back into lane. Show Diamond Prox. He is there for the defense.
Yeah, very predictable return gank. There was almost no chance that he was going to go top. So he had to pretty much return mid, try and get that kill. Diamond Prox came in for the support on Betsy. We saw Gambit top lane pushing those minions under the tower, but Freeze managed to stay even on CS right now here in the top lane. So not much gain for Gambit on that side of things, just a small experience lead thanks to the Krugs. The game slowing down a bit.
Yeah, and I feel like these two teams, between them, they've only got one win on the board. They need to do whatever they can to try and move themselves up in the standings, and experimenting seems to be the way for the Wolves, but for Gambit, finally coming together as a team. We were talking about that last week. We'll see if that trend continues against these Wolves.
Yeah, let's just see how well Freeze can keep up that CSing under tower. Wants to stay even with Forgiven. So far so good. Good CSing by Freeze here, and that's what you need to do in this matchup. When you play any Alistar lane, usually you are pressured in early until level 6, and then you can start making those aggressive plays. Alistar can roam, start diving mid laners, for example, but Gambit, they're running a melee support, and with a melee support, it's incredibly hard to punish on the tower. Look at Freeze. Yeah, he hasn't dropped a single CS, maybe one so far. 39 to 40. Forgiven can't capitalize on his traditional style. With the likes of Lucian and Graves back in the past, he would push you in the tower and poke you down, but you can't do that too well into a sustained support like Alistar. You can't punish his lack of range because you're running a melee support yourself. You have to land those dredge lines. Freeze is ready for that. So even Stevens in the top lane. I think the only opening they can find is either pushing the wave, bouncing back and getting gank. But as I said before, Diamond Prox's time is better spent helping Cabochard, helping Betsy, so...
And likewise, Airwax has been focusing on this mid lane as he rogues all over the place. In fact, looking like he may come in again. Diamond Prox still in that mid, but Soren is holding fast. He's got a lot of sustain between his biscuits and the Crystalline Flask. Airwax going to come help him clean up some farm. And Unlimited stops GoSuPepper in his tracks, knocks him up. Boss Bomb going to connect on two. Unlimited pulled in as Forgiven. Now has to back away. Dangerous moves for both these as Diamond Prox comes in to look for Youngbuck Part 2. No flash, that's got to be it. And in an explosion of the barrel, Cabochard picks up and blood.
That was due to really good lane control rather by Cabochard. He pushed in the lane, let it bounce back. Youngbuck couldn't do anything but farm his creeps, and he saw that wave move away from him. Then Diamond Prox coming in with the return gang. Youngbuck probably should have played a little more careful. Flash Pulverizer from Unlimited.
Yeah, he's pushing his luck just a little bit, and it's going to force a couple of flashes as Airwax comes in. Parallel Convergence dodged away. Airwax will manage to pick up one and look for GoSuPepper, but he's only going to be able to make a dent in his armor as he has to back away from the minion wave.
Yeah, 1-1 here, but most importantly, 20 CS lead for Cabochard. Managed to get that kill too. He's going to start snowballing. Finally gets that Gragas working. Then it can work. If you help him get ahead, if you use his crowd control effectively, Yes, he has that body slam, he has the barrel to slow somebody down. If that person doesn't have flash, then a knockup comes in from Diamondprox, then it starts working. Yes, Airwax might get a kill here, but that's not gonna punish Corki. Once Forgiven hits level 6, he'll be able to farm anyways in this lane.
He still got the CS lead, and even though he died, he was sitting on plenty of gold and some change to be able to pick up the Sheen. Also gets the Ruby Crystal versus Freeze's BF Sword. Now Diamondprox escapes into the Dragon Pit.
Now you say it right there, the BF Sword on Freeze, that's now something he has to capitalize on that lead. He has really nice item advantage, but he doesn't have many potions, so he will have to watch out for the poke from Forgiven, try and poke him out himself with the Calling, with Piercing Light, try and get an advantage. Otherwise that gank from Airwax will be lost time, wasted time. Should have been maybe helping Youngbuck instead, because once Youngbuck starts getting behind in this matchup, he'll get punished more often. Cabastar still has his flash.
Yeah, I think Freeze might have heard you there. He picks up with a couple of potions before he returns to lane. And now I wanted to ask you actually about, with this Alistar support, is he maybe in danger of relying a little too heavily on that heal?
No, it just, he knows he can sustain through the laning phase. The limited even shows to put only 1 point in heal, and that's fine. But the value from Alistar is not in the laning phase. It comes into the team fights later in the game because he can pretty much tank 4 members in a team fight. So you can always neutralize that lane and not pay attention to it and help your other lanes. That's why Alistar is such a staple pick. But Airwax went for the predictable ganks in mid, then went top, and now Youngbuck, he has to flash just from a body slam on their tower, and it's even too late for Airwax to move down here and help this Youngbuck. He's on an island right now, reminiscent of many situations that JWoww often finds himself in.
Airwax has just been on this counter jungling mission to try and take away red buffs from the Rex side, but Diamondprox doesn't seem too perturbed by this. In fact, Airwax is having some trouble clearing this one away. His smite's just about to come up. We'll be able to do it, but back to the top. Forgiven is targeted on Freeze, trying to dodge away, but he can't get away from the ultimate. Teleport comes in, Cabo Shard throws the big barrel and finds Unlimited, body slam, and then out. Not enough damage. Airwax, however, has to dash his way, phase dive his way over the wall to get to safety.
Yeah, the Wolves not allowing Gambit to poke them out. Immediately aggressive combo from Unlimited. Turn fight and teleport, time rewind. Airwax gets out there. This might give Youngbuck the breathing room he needs. He wants to close that CS disparity, get the wave into good control so he can base, bounce it back. Freeze going in!
He is going in, however, he has to go out as Forgiven found him with the Phosphorus Bomb, with the Armor Shred. Gosu Pepper there is still tanking the front line. The mid lane has been a little bit more quiet, but Soren has definitely amassed a serious CS lead against Betsy's Azir. Clearly was expecting the Echo matchup.
Yeah, and this is the one saving grace for Copenhagen Wolves here right now. The Kog'Maw in the mid lane, 20 CS up, or 15 CS up rather, scales well into the mid to late game. The poke will be crucial to keep the Wolves in this game. The game is even. Youngbuck can still have the utility from the Rumble ulti. Freeze is in a good spot. He's a carry top laner there, and they're diving Gosu here.
They are diving Gosu Unlimited. He throws down the Unbreakable Will, but I don't think he should have stayed that long. Gosu Pepper will get him with the help of a tower. And what the hell were the Copenhagen Wolves thinking?
Well, this is why you always like to run Ignite into Alistar. Not only does it reduces half of his heal, it deals true damage, and Unbreakable Will does not stop true damage. Betsy's getting engaged.
Oh, he has to dash to try to save himself. Airwax looks to go close. The Living Artillery takes another chunk out of his health bar, but he will live to fight another day.
Airwax did not have Chrono Break up there, so was afraid to dive in because he would get Emperor's Divided into the tower, possibly give up a kill on Betsy, and they don't want to start the Azir snowball. They just want to pressure this tower. But yeah, crucial mistake from the Wolves. They give breathing room to the top lane from Gambit. They're now 1,000 gold ahead. Corki, you could put him behind 1 or 2 kills. He won't care. He can always rocket farm. So yes, while the gank might look good on paper, meanwhile in the bot lane, your laner is suffering. Youngbuck about to get dove.
Yeah, he throws on the Equalizer just to clear the wave, but he could still be in some trouble. Looks for Diamondprox, who's tanking. Actually, it was Cabo Shard taking the tower aggro. In comes the flash, the barrel. Cabo Shard now, he gets turned back around. There's the big barrel to push him back, but now it's Cabo Shard who's in some danger as Airwax has sensed a moment of weakness. Gragas trying to get hidden in the brush, but that won't be enough. He gets the body slam. He tries to find Youngbuck, but he just doesn't have the damage, and at the end of the day, that's a much-needed gold in the pocket of Youngbuck.
I don't know, Kev. Very, very poor play here from both teams. What are they doing? These dives are so ill-executed. On the top lane, the Wolves dive and they lose their support. On the bot lane, 2v1 dive. Rek'Sai Gragas against Youngbuck with no flash. That should always be a kill. Cabo Shard was a little thrown off there. He started tanking the turret, and in his mind, he was like, okay, I'll tank the tower, you kill that guy. But You can't expect Diamondprox to solo a Rumble in time under a tower. Yeah, they're losing here.
He definitely can't 1v2, whatever you might say of him, as Youngbuck will get the kill. So what started out very, very poorly for Youngbuck has now translated into a 2-1 score. With that gold in his pocket, he can certainly spend the bid bucks back at the shop.
Yeah, Caboshark TP to the top lane, gave some CS to Youngbuck. Then came back to the bot lane, tried to dive him, gave up a kill. Airwax finally helping Youngbuck. Give him another kill. Now he's back into the game. 2-in-1, double penetration items. And he can do a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, let's take a look at where we are overall too, because it was that lead, very serious lead for Gambit, but some mistakes were made. Copenhagen Wolves are now within 100 gold of them, 3-2 in kills, 13 minutes. It's a very, very even game across the board, and you're right, it's all enabled by those mistakes from both teams, really.
Yeah, now who keeps making the mistakes? And who keeps capitalizing on the mistakes of the other team? Is Gambit gonna come out on top? Are the Wolves gonna come out on top? We don't know.
Both
pretty
teams
even
need
Steven
this win,
here.
though. They absolutely need it to get themselves in a better position for the standings. Gambit, they're hunting for their very first in the summer split. Copenhagen Wolves, they're hunting for their first since week 1.
And a lot of action across the board, a lot of dives, but no objectives really. Towers all still up, Dragon's still up, so in that sense, a very, very passive early game. Even though the bottom lane control has been towards Gambit, should just push in Youngbuck here, move to the Dragon, peel off the Azir, group up and at least get that first objective, get the ball rolling, you know. Put a little bit of a timer on the game.
Well, and the bully the Youngbuck strategy is not going to work quite so well now that he's not only wary of it, but he's got himself 2 kills on the board. Diamondprox is going to find Soren, or is it Soren that finds him with the living artillery? Airwax down to the bottom side, finally going to head and clear that ward. Throws down just about everything to try and dissuade anyone from jumping on him while that all happens. Meanwhile, back to the top lane. Still, the gold, or rather the, well, I'll talk about that in a minute, because Soren has taken a ride on the Emperor's Divide, and Betsy will find him isolated. In comes the kill. Academy in surprise, however, Betsy is stunned up, and he's gonna go down. Airwax takes the bat to his head.
All in all, still worth for the Wolves because they get kill plus assist. Gambit only gets a kill. Zero snowballs in, but look at Soren's farm here. 144 in 14 minutes, 40 seconds. So very, very nice farm here by Soren, and he just finished his Ludens. He's approaching that level 11. He has the level 11 already. This is a power spike for the Wolves. Let's see if they use that to their advantage. Start poking out, potentially get an objective, get a dragon. This top lane, I said it before, this will always go even, providing there are no massive outplays and no really big skill disparity in the players playing. Matchup should go even. Airwax?
Convergence lands on Gosu Pepper, but Diamondprox is making life hard for Airwax as he throws down the Time Winder to get the slow off on the Rek'Sai. A lot of attention being paid up top right here, Crepo. Both teams.
I don't think any of these junglers should be spending time top because even if you get 1 kill, it will not influence the matchup. Corki will not snowball to the point where you can start dominating this matchup, and Lucian will not snowball to the point where Corki will not be able to farm. Your time is better spent shutting down one of these top laners or one of these mid laners.
Well, they certainly have been trying, but Youngbuck, looks like Caboshark won't need that much help. Equalizer's thrown down just to clear away the minion wave.
When in doubt, burn him down.
When in doubt, Airwax will throw everything at Diamondprox, gets away. He's really using those parallel convergences to try and zone enemies away from him. And right now, he's a little low on health, but he's still standing strong.
Yeah, this is what I like about Copenhagen Wolves' composition. Just like you said, the zone control. Parallel conversions on the left, you know, the ooze coming from Kog'Maw on the right. This facilitates landing pokes. If you can create zones where the Gambit cannot step, then they become predictable in their movement. This will facilitate poke on the Wolves' side. Add another equalizer cutting off the exit path, and suddenly Soren has really easy target practice right there. But it needs to come all together for Copenhagen Wolves. You have to avoid Shurima Shuffle from Betsy.
Yeah, we already saw what happened to Soren last time. It was a nice combo up with Airwax to lock him in place and then take him down. The parallel convergence has been, I would say, very, very useful these last 2 games. Diamondprox finding some utility in his kit as well as he slides under the ground to pick himself off a Gromp. Gosu Pepper throwing down wards all over the place. Spotted out, however, by Youngbuck, who takes his place back up top, but Forgiven is looking to shove this tower in. He might just get his wish.
Yeah, freeze down the bottom, Forgiven up the top. Wants to poke out Youngbuck, get the tower. Good wave clear here, though. Be careful. Rumble has a lot of damage. He's known to roast many AD carries. Pepper still hanging around, which should give a numbers advantage to the Wolves on the other side of the map if Airwax chooses to move there. Will we finally see the first objective go down in this game, Pyra?
17 minutes. It's just been a bloodbath of kills all around. And now Kabashard might be the next victim. He throws the big barrel out to get Freeze off his back, but he dashes right back in. Unlimited with the unbreakable will. They tried to chase him down, but they can't catch him in time. Meanwhile, Gosu Pepper Forgiven still trying to push Youngbug back and take this tower down. We really haven't seen too many of them fallen. It's 17.5 minutes into the game, and there hasn't been one until now. And that is about to change. There we go.
Finally, we see an objective go down, and quite a sloppy game so far. Very slow as well. It feels hesitant. I think both teams are afraid to make that crucial mistake, overreach too far, get their hands stuck in the cookie jar too deep.
But maybe
here's
they'll
Youngbug.
change right here. In comes the teleport. Betsy is knocked up, forced to flash. Equalizer on, but he dashes his way to safety. Airwax looks to come in. He gets hit by the Prey Seeker, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Meanwhile, Forgiven and Gosu Pepper, the tiniest of minion waves, are still pecking at this tower without any resistance.
Again, suboptimal teleport so far. I feel every team that has used teleport has ended up losing more than they gain. Youngbug goes down to the bot lane, very far away from where the enemies are even fighting. Combo gets used defensively, but Zir still has to dash over the wall. Yes, they get the dragon, but they lose 2 top towers and their teleport at the same time. Sloppy game. Bot tower goes down too. Wolves losing out overall pretty significantly here. You've got 3 towers all of a sudden and a dragon.
Maybe they can get a bit of revenge. Kabashard dissuaded from walking into the brush with the parallel convergence. Finds Airwax, and in comes Unlimited as well as he gets pinballed up, down, around, and in comes Freeze to try and pick up a kill for himself. Gotta be careful, Unlimited. He stays alive for now. Meanwhile, Soren back to defend the mid, but the soldiers are coming in hot, and so is Betsy, who does take a little more damage than he bargained for, but Soren is nearly dead too.
Incredibly close fight there, and at the end of that gank on Kabashard, he actually used his flash. Tried to get a kill on Alistar. Not sure if I like that. When you're playing against the like of Youngbug, Immobile Champion, or Soren on Kog'Maw right here, flash is vital to shut them down.
So I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen that many jungle echoes, Crepo, but the Cinder Hulk build. What do you make of that?
Yeah, just definitely just wants to get tanky. We saw why Echo is such a good champion due to his base damage values and the fact that he adds a lot of crowd control utility to the fights. And if you're tanky, you can soak up a lot of damage, go back 4 seconds in time, regain that health again, and just continually start stacking that passive on multiple targets in the fight. Use that parallel conversion to your advantage. Use that all attack modifier on phase dive. So I definitely understand why he's going tanky.
Yeah, and they're really relying on him right now. Of the 5 kills that Copenhagen Wolves have managed to acquire, he's been a part of every single one. He's even gotten a couple on his own. So Copenhagen Wolves, they're really sticking to this one. Still, the gold is fairly even. They've got a dragon, but they've lost a lot of towers to Gambit. And all the same, all coming down to these mistakes and who makes them first. They're both playing the game of throws.
To Game of Throws. You win, you lose, and then you lose some more. Slow down though, yet again. You see these random bursts of action where some team teleports to the other side of the map, leaves their cross map exposed. Diamond here clearing a ward. Does he want to go for the combo?
Might regret this one, but Airwax is the one who gets pulled in. It's a 2v3 right now. The damage is flying. The convergence doesn't land. Diamond Frox targeting out Airwax as he jumps himself back to 4 seconds ago. Freeze providing some cover fire as Unlimited burns down. Forgiven will be able to snipe him down with the rocket.
Copenhagen Wolves with the aggression, Gambit with the kill. It seems like a pattern. Team A initiates a play, Team B values from it. So if it keeps going on like this, you'll see either the action slow down because these teams have to figure out that they're making moves that are ill-advised and should probably focus more on objectives. Gambit even translate this into another tower, and sloppy move by the Wolves. And if you get poked out slowly on Echo, then your chrono break isn't gonna matter because you'll only get a little bit of HP back. And we saw Airwax dash back maybe a third of a screen, get 200 HP extra. That's not enough. Limited, he uses combos offensively. Unbreakable will ran out. He got popped.
Yeah. This is the danger with the new champion, especially in a role that not everyone is playing. You can't always be so sure that you've mastered it as well as you think when it's very, very new like this, and it can sometimes backfire on you. So, in all of the chaos, Youngbuck was still able to come out with a tower on top uncontested, but it was going down pretty soon anyways. 3 to 4 in towers is that score. Soren has been doing serious work on these minion waves, but that's about it right now. And I feel like Copenhagen Wolves, yes, they've been making some very questionable decisions, but if they come together as 5, what will we expect there?
Well, the Copenhagen Wolves obviously just want to poke as long as they can with Soren. A lot of farm on him, has the Ludens. Archangel's finished right now as well, so he wants to land all that poke. keep the Gambit members under control while trying to avoid the poke on his own. Azir has a lot of poke, Corki has a lot of poke, so poke on both sides and then just find an opening, find an engage that you can actually win. Both of these teams have making a lot of plays, but they've been backfiring. You see that both teams have become very hesitant. Objectives aren't really acquired, they've mostly been picked up randomly, you know? Okay, we get a kill, fine, tower is attainable, but there doesn't seem to be a two-step plan. Seems to be reacting one step ahead. It's not like they're pushing one lane, rotating to the other, getting the objective. It's more like, oh, this guy's going on me. I guess I can kill him. Oh, look, tower.
Yeah, I think they have a word for that. It's called solo queue. Copenhagen Wolves will need to play a little bit more ahead, and so will Gambit. However, the latter do have the gold lead right now. It's very slim. It's only about 1,500. They're down a dragon, but they're up a tower. And as we mentioned before the draft phase of this crazy game began, they have looked in their more recent games a little bit more like a team. They've started to come together with Forgiven now with Sean's at the coaching position, and we'll see if that translates into a victory here. It would be their first of the summer split.
Gambit setting up for a bit of a dive. They had Edward flank to the right side, they had Diamond Fox flank on the left side. Then they all show up in the lane and they just give Soren the opportunity to clear. It's been proven in the past that it's almost impossible to take a tower away from a Kog'Maw, and there's at least 2 or 3 members backing him up, so you have to fan out. You have to find an opening somewhere else. Gambit doesn't seem to be doing that. Massive wave on the bottom. Youngbuck really pushing out the wave on the top. Forgiven, yeah, he can farm that wave in the mid lane, but nothing's gonna come of this. Copenhagen Wolves are not gonna take anything out of this. Gambit's not gonna take that middle tower anytime soon, so it looks like we're waiting for next dragon.
Yeah, they might be in for a long game, Crepo, if this does continue. That next dragon will be less than a minute away, however. Diamond Prox looks to secure some vision with the Scuttle Crab. Cabochard now, he's solo pushing on the top side. He's got his teleport up and available if Gambit need it.
And you say it, long game. And long games get even longer when the last or the first dragon gets taken at 18 minutes into the game. So no 5 dragon mark, no 3 dragon mark, any future really. Copenhagen Wolves setting up for the second dragon.
Dangerous one though. They have to be careful as Gambit members are prowling around, and Cabochard's still poking away at this tower. They will secure it. Betsy secures the tower in the middle, so in the end of the day, it is a 1 tower for 1 dragon trade. Copenhagen Wolves clearly prioritizing that buff. The rest of the Wolves are here to try and push back the Azir, but he is able to sidestep all of the damage and return fire in fashion.
I'm not sure if I like giving up your tier 1 mid tower for a second dragon right here. Some damage on the top tower too, because now Azir can always pop a tower of his own there, and they can start controlling the map. This opens up the map for Gambit. This facilitates rotations, allows deep vision, and eventually will allow Baron baits. So while Gambit had Copenhagen Wolves on the back foot, they could still huddle around that tier 1 tower in mid, somehow avoid the dive, clear those waves. Now they have to clear those waves further back. This allows rotations into the top lane, as we see right now. Diamond Box is in there.
Yeah, and Youngbuck is in there as well. He's forced to burn his flash just to get out of harm's way. Gambit clustering around in this topside jungle of the Wolves, who really can't get involved and find anything there. Diamond Prox is going to be able to get away. Teleport actually coming in, might intercept him from Youngbuck, sends the Prey Seeker. In comes the Home Guards, and he looks for Betsy Emperor's Divide, dodged away, but they get nothing for it, and Cabochard right back on the top lane.
Now, if Cabochard draws aggro here, draws attention, what is Gambit going to do in reaction? What are the Wolves going to do? Yeah, whoever starting fight, this is good. He's canceling the bases because they want the tower. Flashes out. Absolutely perfect by Gambit. Looks sloppy, but they get the tower. They get what they want. Mission complete here.
Yeah, opens up the inhibitor on the top side. Well, Copenhagen Wolves are caught sleeping for just a second. And Gambit Gaming have got themselves even further in the gold game. 6 towers to 3 is that scoreline.
So another teleport initiated by a team and capitalized on by the other team. Youngbuck teleports in with Home Guards, tries to find an opening, doesn't even ulti. Emperor's Divide comes out defensively, and Cabochard says, thank you very much, I'll pick up yet another tower uncontested.
Yes, indeed. That is what happens. And the Wolves are just a couple steps behind. Let's see if they can fix those mistakes as this game goes on. Airwax relied on still very heavily in this game, but they haven't really been able to translate their effectiveness on the map into any kills. They've just been able to secure a couple of dragons as Gambit pull ahead in the gold game. Copenhagen Wolves struggle to stay relevant.
Cabashard with a much better Dragon's top lane than we've seen before. He's drawing aggro, he's dictating plays, teleporting it now.
Yes, he is. They might have cut off Young Buck. He's surrounded by foes with nowhere to go. Puts on the Flame Spitter, burns out, and burns down. Goodbye.
Yeah, and this is what I said before. Copenhagen Wolves have given up so many towers for free that it allows Gambit to open up the map, move around, and create picks. Yes, they have the Scuttle Crab vision, but it's not enough because they're 4 against 5. Now the Wolves are forced to face it into the Gambit lineup.
Yeah, Ghostly Pepper's looking ready to intercept them there. Baron getting fired up pretty quickly, but Unlimited's coming in to try and make the play. In comes Airwax, and it looks like they might have been able to find some damage as he dashes back. Chrono Break for the escape. Young Buck is still down. Diamond Prox finally gets taken down. Forgiven, however, is going to be able to pick up Unlimited, and the Wolves are scattered to the winds as Cabochard blows up Freeze. Airwax and Soren on the run. Throwing down some cover fire, but I don't think they're going anywhere. Airwax with the parallel convergence, a last-ditch effort as he runs as fast as he can away from the members of Gambit, and he just might have done it.
Very ill-advised engage by the Wolves. They went in a little early. That Baron still wasn't anywhere near completion. Very aggressive combo by Unlimited, and then Airwax dashes in without using parallel conversion for any zone control at all. Very sloppy. They were pressed for time, and I think they reacted a little too hastily. Young Buck goes in again, face checks in.
Oh no, we've seen this before. Young Buck is just blown up. Forgiven, tack another kill onto his board. This KDA is certainly not hurting this game too bad. 3-1. Let's take a look at that ill-advised Baron fight though again.
Yeah, Unlimited season opening, wants to get flash combos for it, but there's no follow-up. Airwax goes in, but he's not really creating any plays either. Yes, Unlimited is tanking, but now the damage suddenly comes in. But as the damage dealers arrive, Airwax is already using his ulti defensively. He's not letting Gambit chase and then uses ulti aggressively, so very mismatched, out of sync Copenhagen Wolves here. Good punish by Gambit, we have to give credit where credit's due. They got a pick, they went for the Baron, baited the Wolves in, punished them, and now got to repeat Baron. Baron for Gambit.
They'll have some time to be able to use it as Betsy goes ahead and shuts down Airwax, pincering him into the big belly of Cabochard. Now, all grouping up in this mid-wave. They will be able to take this down without too much trouble. Dragon's coming up. Gambit can easily waltz over and pick it up anytime they want. They will back away after taking down yet another tier 2. None remain now for this Copenhagen Wolves squad, and the inhibitor up top is bare. Things are starting to look dire for these Wolves.
Yeah, dire indeed. Sloppy game. Very, very sloppy game by the Wolves so far. Gambit is slowly starting to capitalize on the mistakes from the Wolves more and more as the game progresses. But both teams showing why they've been at the bottom of the standings. And they need time to improve. They need time to get in sync. As the season progresses, we see the difference here of the likes of Fnatic and Origin compared to these two teams. Gambit, however, they did some of the things right. Credit where credit's due. They had Diamond Puck support Cabochard early, get that lead, shut down Young Buck, but then kind of went wrong again, you know, get them back into the game. But they kept punishing the Wolves for their mistakes. They got a lot of objectives eventually. It took them a while, but you see 7 towers to 3, and that's props to Cabochard. He opens up that map. Every time he draws pressure, 1 or 2 members trying to deal with him. Gambit on the other side of the map, they get an objective.
Yeah, we call back to Champ Select when we thought, oh, not again. We've seen this before. It hasn't worked for a while for you, Cabochard, but now that's completely changed. They focus a lot of attention on Young Buck in the early game. Yes, he got some return kills. Yes, he was able to do some work. But despite the mistakes, Gambit are still executing on their game plan right now, and Copenhagen Wolves don't seem to have too many chances left.
Yeah, and I think one of the points we haven't really touched upon too much is that it's a distinctive style difference for Forgiven. We haven't seen any attention around his lane. Yes, he was pushing early, but he's playing this poke champion like Corki, very low in terms of outplay potential, very low amount of resources received by Gambit, and they're playing around Cabochard again, and Forgiven's playing the steal back of this team, you know, playing the janitor, cleaning up and doing it well. When even on CS, doing his role, poking out right now, offensive build.
Yeah, it's really nice to see this this different playstyle from him, because a lot of players, a lot of teams really pinpointed that last split and said, hey, we may not be able to stop it always, but we know exactly how to deal with it. Gambit right now, they're showcasing a different side with this AD carry. They're showcasing a stronger version of themselves that is able to execute, not without mistakes. However, this is much better than they've looked in their previous 4 games.
Well, apart from the one game, I believe, against Fnatic, it was...
That's the exception, that's true.
I think the Gambit right there looked even better than the Gambit here. But Gambit has always been a team that plays to the level of their opponents, and that's why you can never count them out. If they face a fantastic opponent, somehow they can keep the game close, and there hasn't been too much pushback from the Wolves here, so Gambit at times were a little lost. That's what we saw in the early game. Neither team found a way to open up the map, right? No towers until 15 minutes, no dragons until 15 minutes, just even Stevens the game. No team making any moves, and only finding an opening when the other team made a mistake. Offensive teleport, punished. Offensive teleport from Gambit, punished. Over and over again. Failed dives left and right. This eventually resulted in the position where we are right now.
Exactly. We haven't really touched on the item builds too much. We talked a little bit about the Cinderhulk Echo. He's gone, you know, the very logical path after that with the Frozen Heart, with the Spirit Visage. And of course, Youngbuck on this Rumble has decided to go, of course, for the Rylai's, that slowing effect as well on his ultimate. But we haven't really seen it be incredibly well utilized. He's been throwing down equalizers a lot of the times just to clear waves.
Now you say the logical path for Echo. Frozen Heart comes in, but he's facing like a triple poke lineup. Rockets coming in from Forgiven, a Zero poke coming in from Betsy, and then Cavachard with the barrels. Almost like Airwax to get a little more magic resistance rather than spec offensively into that armor. Who does he really need armor for? Forgiven is 50-60% magic damage in these fights, so I think a little bit of an itemization mistake.
It's true.
On Airwax, showing that he's still pretty new to that champion. And then, as you said, the equalizers, they've not been connecting for Youngbuck. He's tried, but just hasn't really found any success. Wolves haven't found any opening. They're playing back. They're waiting for Gambit to push in. They say, okay, Gambit, come knocking, make a mistake somehow, let us capitalize on that. Gambit very tempered in their expectations. I imagine they'll just keep this pressure up, deny any vision, because look at the map. There's one ward I see from the Wolves on the map, and that's it. Complete darkness. So eventually Baron will spawn, Gambit will peel back, force a face check, get the Baron, snowball the game from that.
Seems to be the game plan for the moment. They're able to execute on it with what they've got. But for the Wolves, as they sink further and further behind in this gold game and aren't really able to get much back for themselves, what is there? And they tried early to make plays, it backfired a lot. Now you've seen them go complete 180 and just be incredibly defensive. You see the Sand Soldier comes out and immediately Copenhagen Wolves back away. They don't know where the rest of Gambit are. It's hard to see a win condition here for this team.
Yeah, they need vision first, then create a flank, but they don't know where Gambit has their wards, so it's incredibly hard for them to do a successful flank without getting engaged upon. So if they can somehow find out where Gambit's wards are, find an area that's dark, then create a flank. But it's a multi-step process, and every time they take a step forward, they're at risk of getting engaged upon themselves. So they're praying for a mistake from Gambit. So if Gambit plays this passively until the next Baron, which is a minute away, or a next Dragon, then peels back, gets that objective, and waits for the Wolves to make a mistake, and Gambit yet again stays in the lead. So both teams waiting for a mistake from the other team. No creative opening here.
Yeah, so now that it has slowed down, they keep the pressure on. Copenhagen Wolves continue to just be dragged around by the scruff of their necks, and Gambit staggering their backs, executing this very well. Now that they've got themselves a lead, this has been an unfamiliar position for them this split so far. But yeah, the Baron's coming up in 45 seconds. There's still hardly any vision outside the immediate area of the Copenhagen Wolves base. Gambit Gaming in a prime position here.
Yeah, Diamond Fox redefining the concept of tunnel vision. Look at that bot lane jungle from the Wolves right here, littered with tunnels. Has this pick if he ever wants to go back to that bot lane and continue the split push there after drawing members to the top lane. Now they want to deny the Wolves access to this Baron. But at the same time, Gambit seems to be basing. Cavachard does have teleport. Betsy just based, so they've been pushing in the Wolves for multiple minutes, and then once the Baron close comes to spawning, they just back off. They allow Wolves to step in and drop some wards, so not sure if I like it by Gambit.
Well, it's a small timing window. See if Copenhagen Wolves can do anything about it. It looks like the answer is no. Cavachard goes down to the bottom to reapply that pressure. Goes to Pepper and Forgiven. Clear out some wards. They can't find the one that's still in the jungle. Airwax still running around. He's going to get poked down a bit, though.
The Wolves need to find an opening right now, or else they'll find themselves back in time. Not 4 seconds, but about a minute ago, when they were pushed into their base on different lanes, and then the vision will be dark yet again. We see Cavachard pushing down in the bot lane. Diamond Prox don't even see if he has a tunnel ready at the Baron. Doesn't seem so. But he's hovering in that bot lane, and they're looking to find somebody up, make a pick on somebody that's defending Cavachard. I'm going for a little bit of a dragon here.
Going to be easy for him to just take this. He's tanky enough to sustain through it. Gambit are still able to apply pressure all over the map without him. So Diamond Prox easily can pick this number 2 up. No one from Copenhagen Wolves really reacting. They're just kind of fumbling around in their jungle, trying to get a bit of vision back.
You're doing a 2-man Baron with 80 carry and support. Creative?
It's a bit greedy, but
with your mid laner in base, with your jungler on Dragon and your top laner on bottom.
This is working out so far, Crepo. Wolves have got the fear put in him, and Gosu Pepper, he is very tanky, though his armor is showing some wear here. He might go have to back after that and clear it up. But they do manage to take it 2-man. Gambit get everything on the map here, and let's see what they can do with this Baron buff and Dragon number 2.
I think this paints the picture of this game. When an 80 carry and a support, 37 minutes, can solo a Baron, while your jungle is doing Dragon, while your mid laner is running back from shopping in the base, and your top laner is pushing down bottom, not even hitting a tower, and you somehow can get that Baron for free, then you know the enemy team is scared.
It's the power of a completely blacked out map. Copenhagen Wolves have just not been able to get much. A few wards in their own jungle while Gambit was away, but now they have to contend with this Baron push all across the way. Cabochard in the bottom, Forgiven in the top. The death knells are ringing for Copenhagen Wolves, and they are looking to make a desperate last stand, but will it be enough? Looks like Parallel Convergence will not be. Start things off.
Copenhagen Wolves, are you going to fight your way out of this, or are you just going to roll over and die? What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Eventually, Soren's going to run out of item slots. Still has 1 left. I think they're putting all their eggs in the Soren basket, and they're just relying on his poke, but triple threat, triple push. He only has wave clear for 1 lane, maybe 2, but 3 lanes, 3 Baron creeps. But stalling it out, managed to poke out in the top lane. Gambit did not push in sync. Split push is fantastic if you can hit all lanes at once. Prevent Soren from poking you out, from cleaning those waves, then it's good. Copenhagen Wolves hanging on, right to skin of their teeth.
Still trying to stay strong in the face of Gambit, who are continually hammering away. They've left the top lane to push against them, however, so they will have to go back and deal with that to keep their pressure on. Diamond Prox still shuffling his way about the jungle. Baron-empowered minions still pushing in and crashing like a wave into the towers. Copenhagen Wolves, however, they've got themselves some wave clear, and they're still to be reckoned with. Gambit don't seem to be executing this endgame well.
And there's no righteous glory on the side of Copenhagen Wolves either, so even if they do find an opening, they have a hard time capitalizing on it. No movement speed steroids, playing back, poke champion, Airwalks, he will have to be the opening. Parallel conversions is going to be what they need to lock this Gambit lineup down, but they're knocking on 2 doors at once right here. Even peeking in. Buffing those Baron creeps. Soren's in the top lane, but bot lane is exposed.
It is exposed, and the tower will drop. Let's see if Gambit can get anything else as they continue to poke away. Fancy footwork to dodge away from Freeze and Soren. Forgiven, you a little close for comfort there, buddy. You got to get back to base after something like that. And now the chase is on Copenhagen Wolves. In comes Cabochard. He turns around, throws the barrel, a limited low. In comes the equalizer, but will it equalize this team fight? I don't think so. Azir, he's going to pop his ultimate down, and Airwax burning away, has to run out of his own base. Cabochard now chasing on the cow. Finally, they crack the inhibitor line, and Forgiven, he didn't back to base after all. He stayed, and he finished it off in the top. 2 inhibitors down now for Gambit.
It almost feels like the Wolves are not willing to fight. Unlimited pops Unbreakable Will, flashes out defensively while Airwax is still in the fray, then uses shield upon himself. I think a Valiant support should volunteer his tribute there, throw himself into the fray, try and peel for your carries, and just not whimper out of that fight. Wolves are just giving up.
Yeah, it seems like they're rolling over and dying right now. It's a slow death as they play continually defensively. Gambit Gaming now extended themselves up to a 12,000 lead or so, but it's starting to not really matter anymore because the item slots are just filling out. Airwax still desperately trying to negate this vision advantage, but they can't really extend past their own jungle, and even that is starting to become a stretch.
2 inhibitors down, 1 left. Everybody looking at Soren. So you're gonna poke them up, but even then, what if they win a fight? What are the Wolves gonna get? Some vision. Gage on Diamond Prox here, but
he tunnels away.
Tunnels out. Cabochard. I think he definitely did a lot this game. I questioned the Gragas pick. I was pretty vocal about it. Worked out to some extent, but I think he could have done this on other champions too. I think this speaks more to the player that Cabochard is rather than the Gragas pick. But his split push and the help he got from Diamond Prox launched him into a comfortable state in the game. Then he split pushed a lot in the game. Gambit played decently around that. Got some objectives on the back of the split push, and definitely was a strategy, but it was slow. It was somewhat poorly executed, and I feel the better teams will capitalize on that, not make as many mistakes. So both teams will have a lot of work coming back up this week.
Yeah, this will be one of those games to very exhaustingly review for the coming week as well for both teams. For Copenhagen Wolves to see exactly what happened and when they started rolling over on their backs, and for Gambit, how to better execute those plays and how to not get themselves in a situation where it's stalled out a bit. Because if they hadn't made those mistakes, and well, it's easy to say if Copenhagen Wolves had and they hadn't, but all things theoretical aside, Gambit are still trying to end this one.
All right, Forgiven draws some aggro there. Zyrtard was put in the mid lane. Gambit trying to initiate their 3-point chokehold. Betsy was poked out, so they're waiting for him to get back. And then they want to hit all 3 lanes at once, pushing those super creeps, force Soren to one of the side lanes for wave clear duty, and then knock down that mid lane tower. Alternatively, don't find an opening, 1 minute 30 seconds for the next Baron, which should be finally the last nail in the coffin right here. They're grouping up, no waves in the side lane, so this wave will just get minion. It will just get cleared. This doesn't work.
They seem a little hesitant too. Gambit doesn't want to risk diving and giving up this seemingly insurmountable lead. It seems like they're playing a little bit.
I mean, Gambit can wait.
As well.
Gambit can wait until the next Baron. There's no issue there. Yes, they could theoretically split push this out, but they have time on their side. Just would like them to see or coordinate this 3-man split push a little bit better. I don't think grouping on this mid lane tower is what you necessarily need to do. 2 spells from Kog'Maw and his wave will just vanish. You want to push in that side lane, stack it, threaten those Nexus towers, force Kog'Maw to defend it, and then get a couple cheeky hits on that tower, eventually take it down. But it looks like Gambit is settling for control over Baron and Dragon.
They will be able to leisurely take those when they want. Dragon's now live. Baron 30 seconds away. Copenhagen Wolves still contending with the super minions in the top and the bottom, but Gambit are not pressing this. They are taking the slow path to victory as we approach the 45-minute mark.
Resident Sleeper indeed. Couple more seconds, 20 seconds for Baron. Is Gambit gonna push their advantage?
Kabashar's got a big wave down bottom.
Betsy can take down towers pretty fast with a Zir though. Just puts soldiers on tower dive duty.
And if they can clear it, he can throw a Sun Disc as well.
Yep, he can immediately put up an extra tower. This was yours, now it's mine.
Looks like they're going to peel back to Baron instead. So, Gambit Gaming should be able to take this one. It gives a small amount of breathing room to Copenhagen Wolves, but when this is finished, it'll be a different tune.
Yeah, they're trying to collapse on Kabashard, but he's been playing smart the last 20 minutes or so in that bot lane. Decides to base. I guess he will teleport back. Come on, Gambit. Buff all these minions. 1 in each lane. Now the 1-3-1 becomes incredibly strong because Baron buff creeps. A lot harder to take down. Maybe even get a banner of command somehow.
Anything he can do to try and...
And Kabashard is walking back. He doesn't want to use teleport. Eventually we'll get there.
Now, give him good exercise and we'll see what happens with the Gragas. So, taking the slow march there. Dragon's still available, but it's all been but forgotten as 2-2 as that scoreline hasn't really been a big deal in this game. Gambit still trying to push in to finish this one up. An inhibitor comes back up. Another one soon to follow, so Gambit will have to do this all over again. Betsy now looking to push in. Soren just out of range. Forgiven and Ghost Pepper still taking their stand on the top side, but this extended siege just keeps on happening. Copenhagen Wolves not starving out just yet.
And it just makes me wonder, when is Copenhagen Wolves gonna go for this panic play? Eventually they'll have to make a move. When is that gonna be? Curling comes out. Valkyrie comes back. Pepper gets poked here.
Oh, Pepper gets poked very low, and he could be in danger of going down unlimited. Looks to dive on him, but Forgiven covers the line. Kabashard, meanwhile, is able to take down the bottom inhibitor again. This will prompt Gambit to open it up in the middle. While everyone was preoccupied, they are poking away to finish this one off. Unlimited and Freeze still trying to hold the line up top. Maybe they can find a pick on Pepper. They do. It's going to go over to
reactive
Freeze.
flash from Forgiven though. He sees Unlimited flash in, dodges the head, but Airwax goes in.
Whoa!
Goes back in time. There's, you didn't know where he was 4 seconds ago. Right there.
There's a chrono break. And Kabashard belly slams, flashes, throws the barrel. We see more action in the last 5 seconds, their last 10 seconds than we have in the last 10 minutes as Diamond Prox looks to keep on pushing right now. Death timers as high as they are. Gosu Pepper and Soren both down, but Super
Here's
Minions
Cabo.
hard. Cabo is coming in, and Freeze might be going out. He's blown up, and now Kabashard turns his attention to Airwax as the rest of Gambit look to finally polish off this game.
Cabo smash. Freeze gets 1, 2, 3 shot right there. Betsy with the Emperor's Divide. finally the ace for Gambit Gaming, and after 47 minutes, they start knocking on the Nexus.
No one there to stop them. The Nexus is going to be bare. There it is. It took them 47.5 minutes, but Gambit Gaming are finally on the board with a win in week 3.
Their first victory in this split. But sloppy.
Very, very sloppy, and it took a long time to finish that one off. But they did have a plan, and they did execute it.
And you were right. You said a long game. 47-minute game, and neither team got to the third dragon. I don't think I've seen that happen many times.
It kind of got forgotten. It was all about the Baron and continuing to keep on pushing. Now, the Wolves, hard fought. They tried to dig deep, but in the end, they just were unable to do anything. And as you mentioned, they did seem very hesitant to fight it out. That's something you've got to question. Taking a look at that game in retrospect, going forward for your next games, and tomorrow and into next week.
And it's always very hard to be in that position once you're locked into your base, because you always ask yourself, what am I going to do right now? You know, what is the escape? You don't see an answer, and the reason is because you've already made the mistakes 2 minutes in the past. It's the signature reply to a 1-3-1. If you get locked into every lane, pushed in, pressured, and you don't have the composition to deal with that, then the mistake's already made. Then there is almost no counterplay. So you need to recognize that, ward out aggressively, find an opening, stop the bleeding, get the flank off, something. You need to make something happen, but if you don't make anything happen, yes, then you will get pushed in repeatedly. Eventually use a tower, lose another tower, lose an inhibitor, lose a Baron, rinse and repeat over and over and over again, and eventually Gambit will get to your Nexus.
Eventually is the key word there. You know, I can't get over how much we saw that just kind of cycling over and over again. But there were some very interesting choices this game. I really want to talk the Echo from Airwax and the experimentation that we're seeing. We weren't entirely certain if we'd see Echo make it through the ban phase, but we saw it twice today, once in the mid lane, now in the jungle. And though it didn't result in the win, it did seem Airwax had a fairly solid early game.
I think if you can get into an aggressive position with Echo and you can use him to dash over any wall, you know, become unpredictable, then it's a good champion. I feel this early game was a bit predictable in nature, that there was a lot of aggro around the mid lane. I would have liked to see Airwax help Youngbuck a little more. Eventually, Youngbuck still got back into the game due to sloppy mistakes on both sides. And as we said, you know, slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady eventually kills the base, but yeah, it wasn't pretty.
No, definitely not. So yeah, both teams will have to take a hard look at that one and see what they need to fix to climb up the standings. But for now, Gambit, they've managed to put themselves on the board. That's something that they'll be very, very proud about, and we might just hear more about it. Let's get a pulse on the game. We're going to go ahead and send it side stage, where he's standing by with a member of the victorious Gambit Gaming.
Thank you very much, Paya and Richard Polskamp. And I am, of course, joined by Forgiven from Gambit Gaming. Now, that's your first win in 5 games now after those 4 losses. What changed? How did you get here?
For a start, I think we had some practice. And second of all, I think we had a coach in gaming, which in any of the teams I have played, we never had an in-game coach, not an outside one. And third of all is that, like it or not, we played against a team that is not higher in the standings. So even from psychology aspect, it was way more easier to beat them than, for example, playing, let's say, against the current form that Origin has.
Well, fantastic. Well, since, as you mentioned, this is a win against a lower of the table team, do you have a plan going up against the higher table teams? Do you think you can take a win off them?
Yeah, sure. When we start playing as a team, we should.
Fantastic. So you mentioned very briefly about your coach, Sean. He's been with you for a week now. How's the integration gone? You've already mentioned he's given you some pretty good results.
He's a really good coach, and his presence, along with some other factors that helped us make this win, let's say, today, helped our team to be motivated and to finally go for something that we all want, which is, let's say, for starters, a win. And I think in general he's a really good coach, and the results in the future, I really hope that they will show his effort and our effort too.
Well, you've looked great. Thank you very much for joining me. Congratulations on your win. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst desk to close out the day.
Thank you so much, Pulse, and of course, Forgiven for joining us. Always a pleasure to listen to Forgiven. And well, as the caster said, sometimes it was a sloppy game at times, but it's understandable from the side of Gambit that they might want to take it easy.
I completely agree, and I think, there were some mistakes here and there, but once Gambit actually got a lead, I feel it took them such a long time to close the game out because they were playing too cautious. Sometimes you see teams that get ahead, and they're not necessarily playing to win, they're playing to not lose. In this scenario, Gambit were playing to not lose the lead that they had built up. They were against a lot of wave clear from COG. They were up against this Echo, this unknown factor, and while he didn't necessarily build a lot of damage, it's this weird and wonderful combination you got to break through. So it was slow, it was dragged out, but Gambit covered all their bases. They did the 1-3-1 multiple times, and they eventually got that win. Yeah,
and sometimes they made the right calls. We had that Baron Dragon push decision there to just closing it out, but for the side of the Copenhagen Wolves, well, sloppy, and when you don't end up winning that games or making anything happen with a pretty good start to your jungle Echo in the end, that is not a good sign.
Not a great sign. And as you said, Echo jungle started out pretty well, but then you just sort of have less effect as it went on throughout the game. When you're not building damage on Echo, it's very difficult to do anything particularly. His kit does have a lot of utility, but we've already kind of seen how difficult it can be to get the parallel convergence combination, and it just didn't seem to work out for Awax that they were getting that long duration stun on multiple people. It showed signs of life, but I don't think it's something we're going to see often.
I agree, and I also don't think it really fit into the team composition. The AP COG didn't necessarily fit the same flavor as the Nautilus Lucian Rumble that really want to go in. Echo needs to kite and set things up and went tanky, so I don't really see what Copenhagen was trying to put into effect. I feel if they had a slightly more damage-dealing mid laner, things could have gone differently. But yeah, the big story for me is that Gambit, they got a win. We heard Forgiven talking about having the coach and how it's impacting the team, and we'll need to see if they can keep that up tomorrow when they have some more games.
Yeah, once they turned around their losing streak, they were up for a really good winning streak, so we'll see. An Echo OP 0-2 in European LCS so far, so let's see about that. Now, over the course of today's games, one player was really looking to make or break your fantasy LCS squad this week after picking up 13 kills, 12 assists, and going deathless for an unreal KDA of 25. It's H2K's Yarn, and who else could it be? Today's fantasy LCS leader, coming in just shy of 50 points on the day. Not really a surprise. He says it's all Kasing, but he definitely did something there.
Oh, most certainly. Great positioning, great decision-making. I'm particularly happy because he's on my PTL FL4 team, which you're going to be hearing about every single week as we continue to progress. But, great performance, and I just think despite the fact H2K were pushed really, really hard, Hyanan stepped up. He in the interview actually said, I had to carry a little bit more, and he did.
Yep. But points, they aren't everything. Sometimes what you need is an all-or-nothing play. From @NJChef tweeted, whoa, Frederick should be using Safecracker Evelyn because that was a robbery. Here is your LCS big play of the day.
It's not very far away. There's only 2 members nearby. Frederick could flash over to try steal.
He got it!
He steals it! Frederick manages to show up big once more. Baron secured for Giants.
Starting to make a name for himself on the Baron steals is Frederick. Did it again against Elements in the spring split. Now doing it again. 2 Baron steals for us in one day, though, for us while we were casting games 1-3. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's some kind of caster curse on teams doing Baron.
Or something in the air. And also, hey, by the way, props to Audrey as well, because they timed that really well together. It's just Frederick running away with the praise, though. So, a lot of big plays today, some Baron steals, some a little bit slower games, but here's where the standings lie after day 1 of week 3. Fnatic and OG, they're still undefeated at the top of the table. Then we have Giants, H2K, 4-1. Unicorns of Love dropping a game here today, and a bunch of people in the mid game and in the middle of the table, rather. Gambit Gaming managing to pull themselves up a tiny bit.
Yeah, so the story we had at the top of the show, you had these sort of 4 different categories of teams. Now, finally, we've got an odd number of games, and we're starting to see a little bit more diversification in the table, and I'm expecting to see more of that tomorrow. The thing I'm getting super excited about is the potential of the 6-0 Fnatic, theoretically, against the theoretical 6-0 Origin next week. That is what I'm getting excited about. It is a little bit away, and there's still some more games tomorrow, but that's what I'm antsy for.
Yeah, they could drop a game tomorrow, of course, so let's take a look at the schedule for tomorrow. We're going to start the day with a game between Fnatic and Giants Gaming, and well, who knows, maybe the Giants have it in them to upset Fnatic. They have been on an absolute roll.
They have been, but they did drop against Origin.
They did, but then we looked at Origin compared to Fnatic. I actually think Giants are a fair test for Fnatic tomorrow. I still think it should be theirs, but Giants, they cannot underestimate.
Yeah, and also remember that UOL versus H2K is tomorrow, is our game of the week and also the last game of the day. And definitely UOL will be looking to prove something. H2K didn't have the cleanest game, so it's going to be a good one. And all the action gets underway at 6 p.m. Central European Summer Time, 9 a.m. Pacific, so don't you be late. Now, for now, we're going to call it a night here in Berlin. Thank you so much for joining us for the first half of Week 3, and we'll see you back here for more European League Champions Series tomorrow. Cheerio!
Day 1, Game 1. Will the Unicorns of Love hand Origin their first loss? It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Origin, and Niels is landing those ricochets over and over while they fight them, and look at the shockwave barrel combo. Origin 5-0. Ribbit could flash over to try steal.
He got it!
He steals it!
Nice!
And they show that they are the real deal.
Get it, I got him, Yeah, get him.
Push me, push me, push me, push me, push me.
End the game.
Oh my god.
You guys are so heavy.
Check, can you guys hear me?
Audio check, can you guys hear me? First Echo game in the LCS. Froggen will be the man behind it.
Fight's not over that, yo.
Yep,
Wait,
in
no, wait,
comes
flash, Hooney, double kill.
onslaught of Shadows, double kill for Hooney as Dexter goes low.
Echo. Look.
Stay together,
Thank you, everyone. Nice.
Dexter falls down, Reckless picks him up, onslaught of Shadows, and Tabs is down. Fnatic still undefeated. In comes Airwax, and it looks like they might have been able to find some damage as he dashes back.
Here's Cabo.
Cabo is coming in, and Freeze might be going out. Gambit Gaming are finally on the board with a win in Week 3.